My boss publicly fired me for a mistake I didn't make, so I leaked the security footage to the entire company, and the real thief was... The quarterly all-hands meeting had the buzzing, optimistic energy of a beehive, a feeling I'd basked in just moments before. I just presented the finalized details of the Thompson account, a massive deal I'd single-handedly secured after months of grueling work, and the approving nods from the senior team had filled me with a deep sense of accomplishment. I was riding a wave of professional pride, oblivious to the tsunami about to crash down. My boss, Mr. Evans, took the podium for his closing remarks. He began with the usual corporate platitudes, but then his tone shifted, growing somber and grave. He clicked to a new slide, its title stark and brutal against the white screen. Internal Theft, a Betrayal of Trust. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. Evans described a sophisticated, malicious embezzlement scheme that had siphoned $50,000 from company coffers, painting a picture of a cunning, treacherous employee. Then he clicked to the next slide. A grainy security photo filled the massive screen behind him. It showed a clear shot of an access card being swiped at the server room door. The timestamp in the corner read 2:13 a.m. The card's owner was unmistakable. My name and photo were digitally superimposed next to it. A collective, sharp gasp sucked the air out of the room. Every head swiveled to look at me. I felt the blood drain from my face, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. This wasn't happening. We have irrefutable evidence and zero tolerance for this kind of behavior, Evans declared, his voice cold and hard as he stared directly at me, his eyes devoid of any warmth or familiarity. You're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. The words landed like physical blows. I tried to speak, to protest, to scream that it wasn't true, but my voice was trapped in my throat, strangled by sheer paralyzing shock. Two uniformed security guards materialized at my sides, their grips firm on my elbows, and I was marched out of the silent, staring conference room. The walk of shame through the open-plan office, past the horrified and curious faces of my colleagues, was the most embarrassing experience of my life. My professional reputation, built over years of dedication, was annihilated in 60 seconds. Back at my desk, under the stony gaze of the security guard, my shock began to curdle into a cold, clarifying fury. As I numbly placed my personal effects into a cardboard box, my mind raced. This was a setup, a sophisticated one. I was home, asleep in my bed at 2:13 a.m. I'd even been working late on the Thompson files. I'd sent Evans a text at 1:45 a.m. with a question, which he had read but never replied to. That text was my alibi. Then another memory surfaced, sharp and clear. My key card. It had gone missing for a few hours the previous week after a team lunch. I'd reported it lost to HR immediately, and they had deactivated the old one and issued me a new one. The old card was never found. The pieces were snapping together into a terrifying, malicious picture. That night, sitting on the floor of my apartment, surrounded by the contents of my desk box, I made a decision. I wasn't going to slink away in disgrace. Rage was my fuel, but strategy would be my weapon. I fired up my laptop. I knew IT was often slow to revoke all access. In their haste to cut me off, they might have missed something. I tried my old admin credentials for the building's secure server portal. The login screen accepted them. My heart leapt. I was in. I navigated to the security footage archives, my hands trembling slightly. I didn't just pull the 10-second clip of the door swipe at 2:13 a.m. That would show me nothing new. I requested the footage from the entire third-floor corridor for a full hour window around the time of the theft. The video loaded. I watched the timestamp tick past 2 a.m., then 2:10. The corridor was empty. Then, At 2:12, two figures approached the server room door. One was Kyle, Mr. Evans's nephew, a cocky and incompetent intern who had been foisted upon the company. He looked nervous, fidgeting. He held up an access card, my old missing card, and swiped it. The light turned green. But he wasn't acting alone. Another figure was with him, standing just outside the camera's primary fixed angle, a figure who was whispering instructions, guiding him. I enhanced the audio, turning the volume all the way up. The voice, though a hushed whisper, was unmistakable. It was Mr. Evans. "Hurry up," he was saying, his tone impatient. "And remember, the camera angle is fixed on the door. They'll never think to check the wide shot from the other end of the hall. Just get in, run the transfer, and get out." The full, horrifying truth unfolded on my screen. My boss hadn't just allowed me to be framed, he had orchestrated the entire scheme. He'd stolen my card, given it to his nephew to use as a patsy, and then positioned himself as the hero who uncovered the crime. He was covering up his own catastrophic mismanagement of the Thompson account funds, using me as the fall guy. I saved the full, unedited 10-minute video clip along with the enhanced audio file. I knew going to the board was useless. They'd likely circle the wagons to protect a senior executive. I needed a public verdict. I needed a jury of our peers. The next morning, at 9:05 a.m., just as everyone in the company was settling at their desks with their first coffee, opening Slack to plan their day, an anonymous message popped up in the main company-wide channel. It contained a link and a simple caption: "The truth about the internal theft. Audio enhanced for clarity." The link led to the video. It showed everything: Kyle's nervous entry, my boss's whispered coaching from the shadows, the entire fraudulent transaction, and their final congratulatory high five after it was done. The second post followed immediately, a screenshot of my text message to Evans sent at 1:45 a.m. about the Thompson files, its timestamp providing an ironclad alibi that proved I was miles away from the office. For a moment, there was silence. Then the Slack channel exploded. Message after message flooded in, a torrent of shock, outrage, and disbelief. Emojis of exploding heads and gasping faces scrolled by in a relentless stream. The digital cacophony was so intense it seemed to generate its own heat. By 9:15 a.m., the CEO had been alerted. He had no choice. He called an emergency all-hands meeting, his voice grim over the intercom. At 9:30 a.m., from my apartment, I watched on a colleague's secretly streaming phone as Mr. Evans and Kyle were publicly confronted with the evidence. Their faces, pale and panicked, were a mirror image of my humiliation from the day before. By 10 a.m., they were both escorted out of the building by the same security guards who had marched me out, their personal items in cardboard boxes. My phone rang at 10:30 a.m. It was the CEO himself. His voice was heavy with embarrassment and contrition. He offered a profound apology, my job back, a promotion to a senior director role, and a substantial raise to make amends. I listened politely, and then I declined. His relief was palpable. He'd offered the apology, but clearly didn't want the daily reminder of his company's failure walking the halls. But that was fine. I had already received a better offer. An email had landed in my inbox an hour earlier from Mr. Thompson himself. He'd heard about the entire drama through the corporate grapevine. His message was short and direct. "Anyone with your resourcefulness and integrity is someone I want on my team. Call me." The man who had publicly fired me was facing criminal charges, and I was starting a new, higher-paying job at our flagship client's company, my reputation not just restored, but legendary. The board, in a final act of poetic justice, implemented a new ethical oversight committee to prevent such a betrayal from ever happening again. And who did they appoint as its external chair? The person they had very publicly fired.